back. Yes, we are. Appreciate you hanging. Let's hit the like button. Let's get on the like button and run, people. Let's do it. Let's do it. I see Fitness Rebels in the house. She hasn't gotten on you yet, Gunner. She hasn't given you a hard time yet. It's only a matter
Monday. It's Monday. About Tuesday, Wednesday, she'll be back to normal.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah,
that's what she does. She keeps you on your toes.
She's delirious with delight because the Eagles beat Miami
and the Phillies. Yes,
and the Phillies. Yeah.
All right, so let's dig into this thing defensively again. What's up, Jim G? What's up, Sports On? What's up, Joho? What's up, Rich? Scott? What's up, Dank? What's up, Kaz? Anybody I missed? I apologize. Tomas. What is up, Tomas? All right, so again, you could argue the Eagles gave up 7 points last night. Miami had averaged 37.2, Derek, per game.
Yep.
Miami rushed last night for 45 yards. They were rushing for 181.8 per game.
Yep. This
was across the board dominance from the Eagles defense. So I thought the turning point of the entire game and the moment you kind of took a sigh of, that breath of relief. The Slay interception was so big. So you set it up. The Eagles are only up 7, okay, in the fourth quarter. And Miami's driving. And it's looking more and more like, they're about to go in here. Fourth quarter, Eagles up 24-17. Miami's on the Eagles' 24-yard line. Slay gets that pick. Eagles get the ball back. They go 13 plays, 83 yards, and they make it 31-17. And at that point, I know you never count it out when it's Miami because they can score real quick, but things looked really good. That was a big play for Slay, who missed the game last week with an injury. And I know those guys are at peak what they were 5, 6, 7 years ago, he and Bradbury, but just having the two of them back there with all the younger guys just settles everything down. That's the big thing.
But you bring up a valid point, and Slay, I was not pleased overall with the play of Slay and Bradbury last night. Now, granted, you are playing the fastest of the fastest when you're trying to chase the likes of Tyreek Hill. I get that. And Seth and I kept debating back and forth, bump and run these dudes, clutch and grab. And I'm telling Seth, Seth is screaming that DBs are giving Tyreek Hill too much respect. And my argument was, have you seen him shake press coverage? Because once he shakes, that little hesitation move he makes, nobody accelerates and gets to second and third gear faster than him. Yep. The prime example was that touchdown catch. Soon as he shook Slay on the one side, and Edmonds couldn't even turn his hips quick enough to get back, Tyreek Hill's in the end zone. Mm-hmm. He's already 3 yards behind him. You got to be careful how you play this guy. Now, I will say this. Eli Ricks came in and played Hill about as well as you can play him. Now, Eli Ricks is pretty fast. He was up on it, and he stayed. He broke up some passes, so he gave Tyreek a few problems. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, nobody wants to be on Tyreek Hill's highlight reel every week.
Yep.
He's just that good. Let's face it. When we debate, we've been debating it all off season, free agency, June, July, who are the top 5 receivers in the game. I've consistently said there is no one better in the NFL right now than Tyreek Hill. Even if you have a good day, which the Eagles did, if you have a good day and hold him under 100 yards, he is still the most dangerous man in the NFL, and he shows it.
Yeah.
With those hesitation moves, you can't play press coverage against this dude.
No, you can't.
You're not getting – there's no one-on-one. There's nobody.
This is the game I'll push back against anybody who's like, get up and jam him. You jam him, it's over. He's past you in 2 seconds. You got to give him a little bit of space. And I thought the way the Eagles, what they did defensively, I thought was just very smart. Now, again, did they get lucky on the one? Without a doubt. Yeah. But still, that's kind of stuff that happens in games.
Absolutely. And again, let's go back to scheming. Sean Desai's scheme to minimize Tyreek Hill's effectiveness with a bunch of kids on the backside was a thing of beauty. Obviously it starts up front because Tua didn't have a lot of time in most cases, just stand back there as he does in most games and wait for Tyreek to free up.
Yeah.
That Eagles front pass rush on him and pressure was a thing of beauty because that's the only way you can disrupt that timing offense. Tua gets the ball out of his hands faster than any quarterback in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does, it's lights out. Now, granted, Jalen Waddle went out for an extended period of time with a back injury, and he came back. Wasn't as effective when he came back or before that. everything that you could possibly have work in favor of the Eagles worked in favor of the Eagles last night. You know, the guys up front did their job. The coaching staff did a great job of strategically putting pieces in place to defend against this high-powered offense. And now I sit here and I wonder, just how good is this Miami team? They're explosive. But if you look at the two losses have come against better teams. The 5 wins have come against inferior teams.
Big time inferior teams.
So they got smoked by 28 by Buffalo, and I still don't know what Buffalo is.
They're the most difficult team for me to figure out. One week
agree.
they can look like a team that's capable of getting to a Super Bowl, and the next week they don't look like a playoff team. I don't know what.
I agree.
I don't know what they are.
And they get smoked by 14 by the Eagles. So that tells you a little bit something about Miami.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. So a couple other things of note. I want to give props to the younger guys. I mentioned Eli Ricks. I thought he did a good job. I thought Scott, Joe, like the young guy. I mean, when you consider, you're down Avonte Maddox, you're down Reed Blankenship, who's also that's 2 starters right there. You're down Bradley Roby, who you threw into the slot last week and did a pretty nice job for you. All things considered. You're down all of those guys. Justin Evans. You're still able to maintain with Terrell Edmonds, not a younger guy, but Terrell Edmonds, Job and Ricks and Scott and those guys. And then from a defensive line perspective, how about Nolan Smith racking up his first one? Good for him. I mean, that just got to build confidence.
Dude, come on, Mark. Now, I'm glad that was a Matador sack, man. Dude.
That was an Eli Manning. I'm not getting hit here, boys. Whoop, dude, we're lay down.
But nobody touched Nolan. Nobody blocked him. And I'm thinking, how do you leave this man wide open like that? I'm glad he finally got his first NFL sack. Good for him. But, dude, we're sitting in the green room, me, Seth, Mark Farzetta, Mike Missinelli. We're dying laughing. You can't – Seth is like, why couldn't I ever get an easy sack like that in the NFL?
I know.
Dude, you won't find an easier sack in the National Football League. That was unbelievable, but good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. We mentioned what Sweat has been, Sweat's been on a heater lately, man. He's coming on in a big way. No surprise considering the year he had last year. Although the sacks weren't there, we mentioned Reddick, how good he was against the run. And again, I give real props here. And what's up, Sports on 88? I give real props. Appreciate you. I give real props here to Sean Desai. I thought he had a good game plan. I thought he made some in-game adjustments that worked really, really well.
Yes.
And this is a good sign because the last 2 weeks, despite being down bodies, they played extremely well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the adjustments they'll make this week against Washington, who put 31 up against them, when they met at Lincoln Financial Field earlier in the year. So that's the other thing to watch, because after that is when you get into the gauntlet part of this thing.
Now, first of all, Sports on 88 is not too happy with me today because I picked Miami to win it like 30-27 last night.
I had Miami
winning a lot of people.
Well. Yeah.
A lot of people. So, all right, Sports on 88. Hey, I'm human like everybody else. A lot of national pundits picked Miami. I'm not using that as a smokescreen to cover up what I did. I just based it on what I saw on paper, and especially going against a very, very young, inexperienced Eagles secondary. So it turned out Eagles won a big 14 and shut them down in every phase of the game. I look at what they're about to face now. Okay. Should they beat Washington? Yes. But now you got to face a ticked-off Washington team in their backyard because they still remember they had a chance to beat the Eagles here. And we wondered, would Riverboat Ron go for 2 in the win instead of going for the tie in overtime and they turn back to bite them? But even more so than that, did you hear Jonathan Allen's comments after that game yesterday? They were held to 7 points by the Giants.
Yes, I watched it. Yeah.
Dude, did you see how many times they have to bleep what he was saying?
Yeah, it was weird. Like they came to him in the locker room and it was like dark, and then the light, it was almost like a movie or stage. The light comes on and he is just on fire. He's bleep this, bleep that, unbleeping acceptable.
We got to bleeping this, bleep.
A lot of bleep.
So they're going to be ready, and people, I know people are going to spend this week. We're going to smoke Washington. We're going to do I expect the Eagles to win. I expect the Eagles to win the game, but I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be a dogfight just like it was the first time.
Yeah.
Because Washington is feeling, hey, we can go toe-to-toe with this team, number one. Yeah. And number two, we're coming off an embarrassment. Just like the Eagles were coming off that embarrassment against the Jets.
Yeah.
Washington's coming off an embarrassment.
It's probably maybe Sam Howell's best game of his career when he faced
against
the
the
Eagles
Eagles.
earlier in the year.
Absolutely.
And this is
Yeah.
where we'll find out if these, some of the adjustments and or whatever Sean Desai is doing and guys really coming on, how sustainable it is if they roll it into the third straight week and really stifle that Washington offense. But we'll, we'll find out. But yeah, there was a lot of good. There was a lot of good. It was great to get Sidney Brown back. Did you see the one play, Derek? He doesn't make the tackle, but there's a play over by the sideline, and one of the Dolphins receivers is attempting to block him. He comes and explodes into the guy and knocks him off his feet. Like, I hope this kid can hold up, because if he does, it's going to be fun to watch him, because he does not care. He will throw his body around without a care in the world.
I don't think he's ever going to change his style of play. It's what made him successful at Illinois. It is what's turning heads, and we continue to talk about throughout the preseason and, of course, leading up to now. I think he is going to continue to play with that reckless abandon. That's the only way he knows how to play. Yep. Now, the only thing that he will change is technique in terms of taking angles to ball pursuers, getting advantages in terms of coverage. You look at all DBs, they all know how to clutch and grab. Sometimes they get caught, sometimes they don't. He'll learn the little tricks in terms of how to hang on to a guy's jersey just long enough so he doesn't get caught. But in terms of just explosiveness at the snap of the ball and pursuing ball carriers, I don't think he's ever going to change, which means he's going to be susceptible to getting hurt more times than not. We can't say it enough. We've talked about this time and time again. He reminds me so much of former Colts safety Bob Sanders.
100%.
Who Bob Sanders, when he played, was one of the best in the game. But he was only 5'8", 5'9". But when he played, he was one of the best heat-seeking missiles. But he missed so much time because he hurt himself more than he hurt the opposition.
When he was on the field, he helped you so much, but he couldn't stay on the field a ton. Now, they did end up winning one with him. I'm pretty sure he was on that Super Bowl team, but it was a short career. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. We'll see. I mean, we'll have to see. Both guys are not the biggest dudes in the world. Although I will say this, Sidney Brown's put together. He's just not.
Oh, yeah. He's just not a big dude. Yeah.
So yes, for sure. But Miami, Derek, had 244 total yards in the game.
Yep.
So you shut down the run game. You try to make them one-dimensional, which is what they did. Tua going into this game, Derek, had only been sacked 6 times the entire season.
Yep.
They got to him 4 times last night. The Eagles did everything to shred what Miami had done to almost every team. I know Buffalo only had them to 20, but to almost every team that they had faced this year, they really put it on them defensively. I think it was a very inspired effort too. It was a great game plan, but sometimes you give the players props for just really, rising to the moment. Yeah. And I thought they rose to the moment last night.
Yeah. They were extra motivated by what happened with the Jets. There's no question about that. Nationally televised, 2 5-1 teams. After 28 years, the Kelly Green uniforms were back. They were on their home turf. They had every incentive they needed to go out there and rectify what they didn't do the week before against the Jets. It was the perfect storm for this team. In the overall bigger picture, as I said on our pregame show going into the game, for me, it's which offense could control the ball and keep the other offense off the field. And look at the numbers. The Eagles had the ball 36-plus minutes to 23-plus minutes for Miami. Mm-hmm. That's a huge deciding factor in this game. The one touchdown the Eagles scored to put them up, 24-17. I think it was the shortest scoring drive of the night. Nice. It was like a 3-minute, 40-some-odd second drive.
It was
8-play drive. But they very easily could have lost momentum at that point because that's where Miami got that deflection for the touchdown. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden it's 17-17. And the Eagles march right back down the field and take their big mo right back and put them up for good at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was a great combination of when the defense did their job or took care of their business or whatever the case may be. The offense stepped up and did their thing. It was a really just good team effort all around. When you look at it, and you can't say enough. We mentioned Jalen Carter earlier, Derek. How about Jordan Davis? I mean, the improvement he's made from year 1 to year 2 as a complete tackle, not just a run stuffer. He is a guy who's effective in the pass game as well. He's a complete player. And to have 4 tackles, if you think about it, with Fletcher, Milton Williams, and those two who aren't specialists. They can be in there for every single down. It doesn't matter what it is. Or if some team is run heavy, all right, keep them in there, or they're pass heavy. They don't necessarily have to come out of the game.
Well, I will say this. 3 of the 4 for sure could be in there every down. Jordan Davis, I still need to see it.
I,
And only because he's like 6'6", 340.
yeah.
That's a lot to ask of a guy 6'6", 340. And I'm not saying you can't. I just said I need to see it.
Yeah.
But when that ball snapped and you're an offensive lineman, and I don't care if you are 6'3", 6'4", 310, that man is 6'6", 340, exploding off the snap.
Yep.
And how many times do we see whoever's blocking him, whether it's 1 man or 2 men, going backwards instead of forwards? That dude is a load, man. When the running back hits him in the hole, it's like hitting a stone wall.
Yeah, that one play, man, he just,
oh my goodness.
So he occupies his blocker and he sort of just puts him aside, and then boom, he just engulfs. It's like standing in the ocean and a wave hits you. You're like, you can't react to it. You just go down. And then these are Mostert has been killing people this year. And it didn't matter.
As fast and as active as his defensive front is, Rob, and I'll say this time and time again.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked at how many teams, and I understand it's part of their game plan to test the interior, and Eagles do the same thing to see what they can and cannot do. But at some point, teams are going to have to learn you cannot run right at this defensive front. The only way you can have success, as good and as fast as this Eagles defense is on the perimeter, teams that have success running the football against the Eagles run on the perimeter. Let's face it.
Yeah, you're right.
And somebody's going to figure that out. There's one team that'll figure it out. It's Kansas City. If there's one team, and watch what I'm telling you, Kansas City won't spend a lot of time trying to run at them in the perimeters, run at them between the tackles. They'll try to hit them on the perimeter with the running game, just like they did in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I can't believe in a copycat league, more and more teams haven't picked up on this. You now have a 7-game sample. You should already be aware. You're going to have to alter your game plan. You have 7 days to alter the running aspect of your game plan. You're not going to run. If these guys stay healthy, you are not going to run between the guard and center on this defensive front, period.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you bring up a great point here, because the Super Bowl basically, look, they lost it in a lot of ways in the second half defensively. One of them was runs up the middle. Pacheco had a lot of success up the middle against them. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, this is a major problem for this team. Yep. They've totally answered it. They're now, Derek, the best team against the run in football. That's, where they are at this point. And for all the reasons that we just talked about, I feel like if they're in a playoff game now, whereas that was on the table last year, I don't think it's going to be an option for teams this year. I just don't think it's going to be there. Like, for example, the Eagles giving up per game on the ground, 62.9.
Yep.
That's 14 yards better than even Detroit. That's 18 yards better than San Francisco. Like, they are just nullifying, making teams one-dimensional.
They're forcing teams to be one-dimensional. And Rob, there's been so much clamor about how the running game is insignificant in the National Football League. If you look at the better teams in the NFL, and Seth brought up this point, and we were debating this as well. You look at the Eagles, the 49ers,
Miami up until last night.
And Miami until last night. They're running the ball with authority.
Big time.
See, so the running game still has its place in the pro game.
Yeah.
The running game is significant in terms of setting up the pass game. There's no question about it. So whoever put it out there, whether it's a collusion by the owners, or whatever the case may be, that we don't necessarily need the running game in the National Football, is a flat-out lie.
Yeah. No, Derek, to your point, real quick, the top 5 teams in rushing are Miami, the 49ers, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Eagles. Not one of those teams has more than, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 losses. So you're looking at 5-2, 5-1 going into tonight. Could be 6-1 with San Fran. Cleveland, are they 5? I'll check Cleveland. But anyway, I think Baltimore's only got 2 losses, and the Eagles only have 1 loss.
Yep.
So you're right.
It tells you all you need to know about where the running game is, and that's why I was shocked that the Colts gave Jonathan Taylor all that money because of what that knucklehead owner had to say.
Right.
But I'm looking at the Colts numbers now. Again, the Colts put up 38 points on that Browns defense that shut down San Francisco's offense. The Colts had 168 yards rushing yesterday. And the running game kept them in. They had 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 of them by Gardner Minshew. Mm-hmm. But they had 3 rushing touchdowns. But the running game, they ran the ball 40 times against Cleveland's defense. Cleveland only threw, Indianapolis only threw the ball 23 times compared to 40 rushing plays. So what does that tell you? That the run game, if the running game is successful, it loosens up a defense. Because once they start cheating to try to defend against the run, that's when you go up top against
Yeah.
them.
Like, I've never bought that, honestly. I've never bought that the running game doesn't mean anything. Like, I do think ultimately you win in this league more because of the passing game than you do the run game.
Right.
But to say it's insignificant, I just don't think that that's the case. I really don't. And as witnessed by the records of those teams that are in the top 5, they're all good teams. They're all quality teams. If you're able to run the ball and keep teams off balance, it's usually a game changer. One of the reasons Miami wasn't able to do anything last night is because they couldn't run the ball.
No,
so I and look at the Eagles again. Like, Swift didn't go crazy. He still averaged 4 yards per carry, which he did enough to keep him honest. I'll tell you and we'll get in the offense in a minute, but what I'm most impressed about with Swift is he's got some serious moves. There were a couple times last night where it should have been a 2 or 3 yard loss with some wicked cuts. And he is a guy who will run it inside. He'll hit it up. He's not afraid to hit it up. He's a complete running back.
DeAndre Swift is my favorite type of running back, similar to what I've always told you about, like the Barry Sanders, the Gale Sayers, those dudes that can stick their foot in the ground and shake and bake.
Yeah.
But be careful, because every time the cuts are so sharp, especially on the surfaces they play on. Those are the kind of running backs that end up all of a sudden clutching their knee. When you stick your foot in the ground like that, and you can pivot and change directions on a dime like that, though every time he cuts like that, I'm holding my breath for a second until I see him continuously move or get up after he's tackled.
Yeah.
His attribute in terms of, he's a physical back, but he's not the biggest back.
Yeah. He
can bounce off tackles and pick up extra yards, but his forte is when those shoulders start moving, and all of a sudden he's gone. Tina's like, shush, D gun. Hey, look, I've been watching this game a long time. I've covered this game a long time. I've seen running backs like him who have had great measure of success, and all of a sudden, you grab a knee because the turf didn't give.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're playing on these asinine synthetic turfs, and stuff. I hope that doesn't happen with him, man. I'm telling you what. But when he's got the ball in his hands, especially if he's got a couple of yards between him and a would-be tackler, it's a disadvantage. It's an advantage. Swift.
Totally agree. I mean, that is a steal, and I get it. Look, Detroit Montgomery's done a good job for them, and they have Gibbs and all that. But again, it's another heist by Howie Roseman. You got him for nothing, and he's become your feature back. To the point where Penny's not even active anymore.
No.
And it's like you're not getting a ton out of Gainwell. It's really the DeAndre Swift show on the ground. All right, let's come back. So a couple things, Derek, we need to tackle with the offense. A, positives. B, some negatives. And the other part is, how severe is this Jalen Hurts injury? Because, he's never going to give you a straight answer. He's never going to own up to I'm hurting. He's always going to give you I'll be fine, this and that. But it clearly something was good. You could see it was that play on the sideline. Look, I think it happened in the Rams game, but it was a play last night that aggravated it on the sideline after that scramble. And you could tell it took him a minute to kind of get back, and he was a little gimpy. So we'll talk about that when we come back, get into the offense. A little later, we'll get into the Phillies. We'll do our NFL segment, birthdays, movies, all that good stuff. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take. All right, let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because it is hard to find the right person that you can trust, that knows what they're doing on top of that. And that's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you need help with employee benefits, that's another resource. If you're seeing some trends that you like, that you don't like, you can reach out to Jim and he'll walk you through it and set you on the best path for you. Personally, I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call. 610-996-4751. 610-996-4751. You can also email him as well. Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.